Hola, hola, hola. What's happening, people? Just like a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to be sharing any real footage here, but if you guys want to see that kind of thing, the real footage about what happens to all these animals and that, I suggest documentaries like Cowspiracy. YouTube too is an alright place to go, but you have to really be able to look under that sort of surface level video, or that sort of, I don't know, man, like a lot of the stuff on there can be too much. So before we get our teeth into this topic, I think I need to tell you a bit more about my history with this subject. I kind of want to brush through this because I want to get onto the more meaningful and the meat of this video, but I also think it's important. So for most of my life I have been a vegetarian, and I went through this 2 year stage. Don't worry, I was a 2 year stage of being a vegan. Like, don't worry, I was never that like crazy person who like poured blood on someone for buying whatever. I mean, that seems a bit mad to me. And I got roasted a lot for my beliefs by my friends, and I happily let them eat chicken in front of me and other kind of meats, and which I still do today, right? I've never been on like a protest, unless you call that like camp out thing. There's like a vegan camp out thing that happens like every year, and I've been to that one or two times. I just enjoy that sort of festival vibe, and I don't usually bring this topic up with many people. You could say I'm in the closet. I'm a vegetarian in the closet or whatever. That joke is meant to be something or go somewhere, but I just can't think right now. And sort of with all that being out of the way, to my current sort of situation as well, like I try to eat vegan as much as I can. I mean, debatably, I could be doing it better, but eggs, ice cream, just all that kind of stuff just stops it from happening. But I mean, jokes aside, I'll get deeper on this later. I don't think the fact that humans sit at the top of the food chain is debatable. We rule the seas and land and the wildlife, and we've adopted some species as our pets. I mean, just look at dogs and even cats. We've turned them from wild animals to man's best friend. And we're not top because of our dominance, right? Or because of our dominant physique, right? Like a lion would maul us in a fight. But because we can pick up a weapon, because we can set traps for lions and put them in boxes or jail them up and make them into circus animals, which is completely wrong, but we're strong enough and we're smart enough to come with ways in which we can do that. I mean, most of us know anyway, wild animals in a circus is a wrong and just asking for trouble, right? I hope there's nowhere dumb enough to try and argue that point. Even you vegans can't argue, though, that humans were number one. And I think this is where my first sort of argument comes in, and why I am still a vegetarian. I mean, it's not my number one. This is in no particular order. I'm kind of trying to come up with like the more creative ones and the ones that don't really get talked about all that often, and trying to bring those up sort of first. So maybe there's a part two to this video or whatever. But being number one brings its own set of responsibility. Do you think Bolt in 100 meters would be such a huge sprinter if he didn't come first and dominate the sport for so long? No, of course not. But that success brings fame and money and documentaries done about you, which I've watched and read the books and loved them. But he's a huge pressure, not only to keep on winning, as that is sort of what people expect from him, to like always be coming in first, and the fact that he represents sprinting. Like if I said sprinting to you, or the Olympics and sprinting, I don't think another name would come up before boats. Even, I believe, now don't quote me on this, but all the other gold medalists in the past, I think 30 years, I might have that number wrong, again, don't fully quote me on this, you might want to do your own research, but all of them have had their like medals taken away, or their medals questioned, or their race questioned because of steroids or performing enhancing drugs were found in their test sample. Yes, okay, this is like an extreme example, right? But you understand the premise, right? Coming first, being on top, it brings responsibility. Like you're representing your sport for boats, example. So why do we hang pigs from their legs and fill their last sort of moments on earth with fear? Why do we take calves away from their mothers just so we can suck the life out of the mothers for milk? Why do we stick hens in cages where they aren't able to extend their wings fully? Yeah, where is the responsibility in that? It's sort of like saying Justin Gatlin is a better ambassador for the 100 meters, 200 meters than a boat. Yes, he's worked hard, but he's also cheated in the past. He works hard, cheats hard. And again, I'm playing. There's no shade going his way. He's probably going to accomplish more than I ever will. But this also isn't about that situation, right? And I'll do a whole other video on steroids if I feel like it later on. But for now, I want to stick to this topic, and I want to stick to that idea of responsibility, right? Just because we're number one doesn't mean we need to give the animals or whoever's below us horrible lives. I'm not saying we need to treat them like royalty or gods, but just actual animals, I understand we wouldn't be able to sustain that on a planet-wide scale with the, 7, 8 billion, trillion people, whatever the number is that we have in the world, on a planet-wide scale right now. Especially at the rate a lot of us sort of eat meat at the moment, which is another great argument, which I fully won't get into now. But yeah, there are a lot of arguments to being vegetarian or vegan. Like, yes, okay, we're always going to breed animals for food, and we're always going to want what animals produce. I think in turn, not so much we owe them, but to give them a life, even if that life is just eating grass in a field or whatever. Again, I can go deeper into this topic later. How the industry removes this a little bit by adding things like bacon rather than pig's back. But for video length purposes, I think I'm just going to skip over that. Maybe it can be in the part 2. And I understand the difference between a human life and an animal's life, right? I truly do. Like if you were to put like 100 cows on the line and compare that to one human, the human is the one I'm going to be choosing to save. That might say something about my morals, but I think it just allows me to also move on to my next sort of point nicely. I was born and raised in the countryside of Ireland, so I've seen it all. You got cows, you got ducks. I got a cousin up a little bit more north who's got all ducks and goats and all this type of stuff. So like whatever animal you want to name, which we eat, except for you French people too, by the way, because you eat some different kind of animals up there or down there. But if you were to give the average person the knife and instructions on how to prepare an animal to eat, they couldn't, because they're too cute or they just like don't have it in them. I'll have a clip of this like playing in the background maybe while I talk, and I'll leave links to whatever I talk about or mention in the video description or something, or I'll link it some way. And again, I'm not one to judge. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Pussy. Sorry, COVID's a bitch. But even like back in the day, we might have been able to like stay away from hunting or killing, and I mean you'd be seen as a sissy, but like nevertheless you could still avoid those kinds of jobs, right? And I think that's even like more true for today. Like you don't need to be in those positions, because there's other people that would do it and it's disgusting or like whatever it is. Again, like there is no judgment, right? But if push comes to shove and you can't like, pull the trigger, deserve is the wrong word here, and someone's gonna like clip this or whatever in the future, but go ahead. But do you truly deserve to have it? Like, yes, you should be able to buy it, right? And if you know me at all, you know I'm like 100% freedom, and you should be able to like eat up however much you want. But if you listen to hunters or people who have been hunting, again, I'm not one of them, but if you hear someone like Joe Rogan, and if you hear what he says about this sort of topic and the different people he has that come on to his podcast, and you hear them talk about how it's just a different sort of experience. I'm also not saying here that we take away from anyone, right? You know, again, freedom is a great thing. I'm not calling for any action or for anything to be raised here, but the only thing I ask is that we raise this sort of question. And I understand it's not exactly a non-extreme view. I think it's the same sort of thing with working out. You know, you don't deserve an athletic body if you're not willing to put in the dedication and the time, the effort, the nutrition to obtaining it. You know, there shouldn't be a pill you can take to just be fit because you can take pride in your dedication and what you've done to obtain what you have. And I think the pill would just be taking that away. I could just be trying shit too. But I also think you can just take this example too as something like a career, right? Take like a singer's or a rapper's life. You might have a hit song, but if you don't put the effort into what you are writing, or the creativity into what you are writing, and the songs you produce, and you need to keep producing them, I think that's all you'll ever be, is that like one hit wonder. But look, man, right, everyone deserves to eat and eat good food, right? There's no question in my mind about that. I don't tend to think about this a lot either, but I just tend to not like either just people going hungry. And even when you look at people going hungry, like in the UK and all that, like, again, it's another topic for another time. And I also think there'd become a time where you would just become so hungry that you would just do it anyway. A video sort of coming out on that too, soon, maybe after this, or maybe it comes out before. I'll link it anyway. I also think this just brings it all back into what I'm saying is meat is no longer animals, but a pig's back is now bacon, a cow's back is now steak, a pig's shoulder is now sausages. You know, I also once had this conversation with a friend, and he said that his friend, again, yeah, I get it, it's not like scientific or whatever, thought that like chicken came from the supermarket. Like, he didn't relate chicken to chickens. You know, he thought they came from the place where only like employees are allowed to go, like behind the thing. I mean, let me not try to explain the logic here, right? I mean, again, this is like an extreme example, and I don't think everyone thinks this way. Most people, anyway. And I think most people know, right? Chickens are chickens, and bacon is pig, and steak is cow. But I think it goes to, as cringy as it sounds, just a bigger meaning. You know, like, do we know what we're eating? Not only meat, but veggies and eggs and dairy, fruits and all these kind of stuff, and just all food, really. Like, do we really know what GMO food is? Do we know how much strain is on this industry and farmers? Just not even including COVID. Like, I bet COVID has really put an increased amount of pressure on the industry and farmers to keep up production. You know, we get it served to us on shelves in a supermarket, and like me, just accept it and eat it. And this isn't the thing about the industry, or, oh, we're all just really weird right now, but with the numbers we have today, I understand that we can't really do it another way. It's the only way we really can do it. And I understand how some of you might be thinking or saying, or whatever, like, comments you're going to leave. And I understand I'm not really coming up with any solutions here. I don't want a long piece of paper telling me George the cow lived for so and so years, or he had so and so friends, or like, when picking up a steak or whatever from the shelves, when no one's truly going to name their cow George. No, I don't see how we can get past this situation with the size we are now. This is kind of why I put it like last in the video, and we're already coming up on like 20 minutes or now, so I kind of want to relax. What is to stop people like the KFC from feeding us horse again rather than actual cows? My mum also told me a story of them feeding people rats. But again, this isn't like a proven source, so take that as you will. Like, I can't scientifically prove it. There's probably like a story out there somewhere. I might like throw it up on the video if you're watching on YouTube. I believe it, because what big multi-million-dollar company doesn't want to cut corners and maximize profits? I'll wait for you. Also, why is there such a huge difference? Why do we love horses and eat cows? And again, that's a video for another time, because this one is already too long. But I can go into like the environment, how like it just improves your health in certain ways, in certain aspects, and certain things you need to do. And there are plenty more reasons, like the planet, again, just to name one off the top of my head. I also didn't want to cover those ones because everybody covers those ones in videos, and everyone sort of already knows about those ones. And when you search the topic up on like YouTube or whatever, like those are the kind of ones that like come up first, and those are the kind of ones you're sort of introduced to first. So I kind of wanted to take like a secondary approach when talking about this topic. Maybe you guys have an argument against me. Maybe I offended you. maybe you agreed. Maybe you think I'm a radical, bro. Just let me know in the comments, man. And maybe part 2 is coming. Maybe it's not. You never know with me. And until next time, man. Peace.